Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be with you as always. And today is another very exciting day because I have another very special guest with me on the screen. She is a former Department of Defense employee and lifelong contactee of interdimensional extraterrestrial beings and has emerged as a significant voice in the realm of alien disclosure and spiritual awakening. Her journey, marked by personal struggles, has been transformed profoundly through her continuous extraterrestrial encounters. She is the creator of timefordisclosure.com, a platform advocating for open dialogue about extraterrestrial interactions and the greater implications for humanity. There is, of course, so much more to today's amazing guest. She is the one and only Nancy Thames. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so proud to be here. It's lovely. Yeah.
So good to have you here. And it's a mouthful saying all those things, but there is just so much to you. And I know that people will be wondering, okay, tell me more, Nancy, tell me more. So perhaps for those who haven't heard about you or know much about you, can you give us a bit of a background as to who is Nancy Thames?
Yes. My name is Nancy Thames, and I am a lifelong contactee with interdimensional beings and positive extraterrestrials. And my first conscious memories of this are from around 2 years old. And I've been experiencing this all my life. And what I have is face-to-face physical visitation with them. So I literally am awake, fully conscious, and I am in physical form, and we interact using telepathy. And then, I hold hands with them. I touch their arms, their face, and, they allow me to explore, because when they come to get me, and this is like I said, started like when I was 2 or 3, it's as far back as I can remember. They would always send 3 grays. And these 3 grays are the same grays that come to this day. And it's always the same 3 that come to get me. And one in particular, I am bonded with, and she is my escort. And she is a female. She's reddish brown, and she's about 4 foot tall. And I don't call her by any name. I'm very attached to her. I have I love her very much. I feel great love between us, and I feel that she loves me. So, she's been with me basically, I've figured out now as I'm older, since birth. But she is a hybrid gray. The tall grays in the interdimensionals designed her type race purely to do the legwork for them. And what she does, and the others with her, they come down and get a contactee. The density of Earth is not compatible with extraterrestrials or interdimensionals. They can do it, but it's not favored. So they created this hybrid type gray. And basically that's her job. Her function is to come down and get contees, get us prepared, and then take us to craft. And then when I get on craft, I really don't see her or the other 2. And I really don't interact with the other 2. I really think their function is more like security, like for her, So, and then once I'm up there, I'm around interdimensionals that are about 7 to 8 foot. They're humanoid features, but not human. Them around some Nordics. I assume they're Nordics. They're the tall and blonde and pale looking skin. And then I'm around tall grays, and I've been around some, from every once in a while, some aquatic beings and some positive reptilians. And I'm sure there's some other ones that I don't even think we know about here on Earth. I've seen some beings that have human-like upper part of their body, but then if you look down at their feet or something, it's more like an animal. So I've seen a lot of different things. But when I was young, one thing was very disturbing. I didn't understand when they would come to visit me. The female gray would take a handheld scanner, and a lot of times I was even asleep when they would first approach me, or I would be consciously wake up, but a lot of times keep my eyes closed, and they would run a scanner, a handheld scanner from my head to my toes, and then my toes to my head, and do this like back and forth several times. And it was a vibrational frequency. And after a few minutes, I would notice after they would, of course, they would draw the sheets back or the covers back, and I would feel my body start to levitate off the bed, and I would start to float up in the air. And when this would happen, I would certainly start looking around because I knew things were going on, and I would be holding her hand. So, as you know, all the way back that I can remember up until my 30s, that's how they were transporting me back and forth. And I can remember holding her hand, and we would go through a ceiling or through a door or through a window. And as I got older, that became very confusing for me, because in school, everything that I was learning said human beings can't do those kind of things. But when I would look down, my bed was empty. So it was not a dream. It was not an out of body experience. And they weren't absorbing me out of my body. My body, I was physically experiencing these things with them. So as I got older and began to ask them a lot of questions, they later explained to me that the scanner device, that we live in a 3D world, and we are confined to, we only have our 5 senses to explore our world. And we can only see certain things. There's things going on all around us, but we visibly can't see them. And we are at a lower frequency, a vibrational frequency, than they are. So when they were doing the scanner up and down, they were elevating or changing my frequency up to match theirs. And when I got to their frequency, then that's when I would start to float up, and then they would take my hand, and we were able to go through the ceiling or through a window or through a door, because they changed my frequency, which means, I guess, it's like changing me going from 3D to 4D all of a sudden or something like that. You know, it's very weird and very complicated. So, but I didn't know these things until much later on. And when I was in my 20s, it's really when I started to ask them a lot of questions, because I realized that it wasn't just me they were interested in. They were interested in my 2 sons. And I saw my 2 sons taken for the first time. And we were on a vacation at a Marriott hotel at Key West in Florida. And I woke up because I have the ability, I can sense that they're coming. I know when they're around or right before they're coming. So I raised up in the bed, and these were not the same grays that were coming that I was familiar with. These were different. And one of them approached me and pushed me back down in the bed and telepathically told me, go back to sleep. This is not about you. So they had me lay back down, and they put me in a sleep paralysis. I could not speak. I could not move. And so I watched them walk over to the next bed and saw them get my 2 sons, and there was nothing I could do. And I was devastated. I was very upset, very, very upset and crushed, and, you know, because I couldn't do anything about it. So I went back to sleep, and then the next morning I looked over, and they were perfectly fine in their bed. And when we went to breakfast, I asked them, did you have any strange dreams or anything happen during the night that you would like to talk about? And they didn't have any recall of it at all. So I left it alone, you know. But when we got back home, I meditated and asked specifically, I meditated with pure intention, please explain to me why this is happening to me, why this is happening to my family, what is the purpose of this, and what does it mean? So they didn't come immediately or anything, you know, I don't summon them or anything of that nature. But eventually they did come, and the Grace took me on a craft, and they took me aboard a craft that I was to meet these group of elders, and the elders were a group of interdimensionals, and they were all different races, and I couldn't tell you how many they were. It was a good many of them, and I asked them, why is this happening to me? What is the purpose? And they told me that before I became a human being, that I had made an agreement to have the human experience and be here at this particular time for humanity. And they said, we realize you don't understand all this now. And I said, well, I don't remember any of it. So they did show me a vision of myself. I could see myself sitting, waiting, and being told, okay, it's time for your human experience. And then they showed, I guess it was my soul or my essence soul, have whatever you want to call it, going into like a fetus. So they showed me that, and I didn't understand it all. And I was like right around 30 years old, and I didn't understand any of that, and I certainly didn't have anybody to talk to. So I pretty much suppressed things, and really just, a lot of times I questioned my sanity and things of this nature, because these were not normal things. But they did tell me that as I got older, they would be visiting me, and more would be revealed. And that is exactly what's happened. So I'm 63 years old now. And this, as I got up to around my 40s and 50s, it became different. It started giving me more conscious time. And pretty much I learned that I had to alleviate the fear, and the longer I stayed without fear and I could control my emotions, the longer conscious time, because they are telepathic. They sense anything we feel. So if we feel anxiety or feel fear, they feel it 10 times the amount that we feel. And they do not like that. They do not have emotions like we do. So they would tap me on the forehead and put me in a trance-like state. I was fully functional, but it was like being medicated without the medication, and I was fully functional, but I didn't have any of the fears or any of the emotions. I was, so that they could do their job and I could continue with the experience. But the only problem with that is when I would come back and wake up maybe towards the end of it, which is very common for me, but my memories would be fragmented. It wouldn't be the full conscious. So that was very difficult. So I had to work on fear, which is normal. Every human being would experience that. And for me, it wasn't really so much of what they looked like. For me, it was the frequency exchange between us. Their frequency is so much higher than ours, and they were tinkering with my frequency so that I could travel with them. And my brain, basically, when I was little, I didn't know any better, and I wasn't scared, and it was not a problem. But when I got to be teenager and in high school, and the world around me had influenced me to be scared or to question things. So I made it harder on myself. It was basically what happened. And because the world around us, people were telling me, you do not talk about this. My family didn't want to talk about it. They said it was crazy dreams. They said that you cannot talk about this at school, church, Girl Scouts, to your friends. Family get-togethers, other family members will not want to be around us. It would be embarrassing to my family. So I just suppressed it all to keep peace and within my family and stuff. So
And
if you want to ask me something,
yeah, no, that's great. And some of the questions that were coming through, you started answering them anyway, which was awesome. So with your family then, did they also have experiences, or was it just yourself? Is that sort of why? Or
my sister had some experiences, but with the positive and the interdimensionals, if a human, even though you made an agreement, they will not push you any further than you want to go. So I feel like one of my parents actually did, but it was not, they're in their 80s now, and it just was not in the cards for their timeline
yeah,
to, I mean, it would not be acceptable as it is for me now. Governments are doing disclosures and things. So it was just the wrong timing. So they chose not to be a part of it, is what I think. Yeah.
yeah,
But my two sons, my oldest son has all of the visitations and downloads, and he and I both, they gave us both a Kundalini awakening at different times. And that changed everything for me, and it changed everything for him. It was like they about 2 years ago, 2.5, I lose track of time, woke up in the middle of the night, and my body got pulled up forward, and I had like these surges come down from my head all the way down to my trunk and then back up. And then I would fall back down, and then it would pull me up and do the same thing again. And that happened like 3 times. And it scared me to death. I had no idea what it was. The only meditating that I did was to communicate with them. That, I wasn't a big person on doing yoga or yoga meditation or any of these things. I was just a normal mom, normal grandmother, normal person with, activities during the day. I didn't have really I didn't make time for those kind of things. I guess it's more like what I'd say. But so I didn't say anything for a while, but when I had a visitation with them, I asked them, and they told me, you always were asking us questions, which is true. I ask a lot of questions, and they would always say to me, you already know. So they were making sure that I knew. So so what happened was they opened my subconscious up to my human consciousness and allowed the information to flow through, because some of it was flowing through, but I was questioning everything because I wasn't sure where my information was coming from, because, I would second guess it. I would say, well, why am I thinking this? Where did I get this? Where did this information come from?
Yeah, can I ask a question about that, Nancy?
Sure.
Because like with those kind of things, and I know that there's lots of there's positive and negative beings of every type, human beings as well, and that sort of stuff. So how did you know that, like, was it an inner feeling and knowing? Were there things that you sort of tested? Because I can imagine that would be like a big thing, because you also got to learn to trust yourself and your inner knowing to know what is true, don't you?
Yeah. So when that happened, they gave me time to get used to it all, but then they started doing little things to let me know, let me know that they are around. I know now that they can physically be in a room with me, and I may not see them, but they can move things in front of me, or like I had a clock, and it was battery operated, and the clock would go all the way to 4 o'clock, stop. Then it go all the way to 4 o'clock, stop. And it kept doing it. And I'm like, this is nuts. So, and then I said, okay, I understand you're here. That's enough, And so they started, and another thing is, I was talking to a group of ladies and talking to them about how they should educate themselves about abductees and contactees and general public because of the fact that we are going through disclosure, and a lot of people will start to wake up or may get the confidence to start talking, and they may seek out locally places to talk to. And these were like women that are mental physical therapists. And after I left there and I talked to them, I was thinking, oh my gosh, I hope I did the right thing, because these ladies could all get together and suggest to my family that I'm nuts. And so I was like just freaking out, and I was driving on these backwoods, or not backwoods, but just in the country. And so all of a sudden, telepathically, I heard, look to your left. And I looked over to the left, and there was a beautiful UFO, or a disc, a metal silver craft sitting there hovering over this ground. And it was in an Amish community, and it was hovering out on one of their fields. And it wasn't on the ground. It was, just like hovering up above the ground. And when I saw that, I just started crying, because that was just in ways like that, they were letting me know it was real, and what I'm learning and what they're wanting me to learn, that I'm doing the right things. And, so, just a lot of little things that really wouldn't mean a whole lot to a lot of people. But for me at the time, it did, because it gave me the assurance I needed that they were real and what they were telling me, and that they knew that I was acting out on what I was learning. So that meant a lot to me. But I know that they've been with me all my life. And I now know, after meeting with them and talking, that I was interdimensional in a life before I came here. And so are my children. And we made a choice to come here and be here to assist humanity, because this is the biggest thing that human beings have. This is it. This is big. This is a worldwide phenomenon, and the whole world is waking up. We are reaching higher consciousness, and that is why the interdimensional and the positive extraterrestrials are here now. And that's why they started coming here about 4 or 5 years ago, when they realized that people were waking up. They told these other extraterrestrials that were here before, that had made some agreements with governments, and they did the so-called abductions. And there were different, it wasn't just one race, but the Greys are well known for that. But there's a lot of others that have taken people, and that in the cosmic world is considered overstepping the cosmic law, because human beings are here on free will, and they're not supposed to overstep that boundary. They're supposed to leave us alone. So, they started teaching me a lot of things about why that happened and why they were here now. And the whole purpose of getting me prepared for this was for this, because they always knew at some point humans were going to start to reach. This is an evolutionary stage for humanity. And it's going to be the biggest change. And, it won't happen overnight, but it's going to be beautiful. And we're going to start waking up and realizing that there's old ways that we have been programmed to live and think, that we know that will no longer serve us, and things need to change, because our world is changing and we need to change with it.
Yeah, and that's so true, Nancy. Like, we have been programmed, and we have these patterns running through society, through ourselves, these subconscious beliefs that aren't serving us anymore. And so many of us are waking up now, which is, like you said, this is the time that we came here for.
We are the ones the world's been waiting for. And we all made a choice to be here, every single one of us. And I truly believe, and we are the disclosure, human beings figuring out who we are, all this DNA that's yet to be activated, our potential, our uniqueness, And the fact that we are our connections with the planet, our connections with all the creatures on the planet, our connections with extraterrestrials and interdimensionals and the universes, we are one and we are all connected.
Mm. Yeah, it's such a beautiful time to be here. I mean, there's a lot of shit hitting the fan at the same time, but so much. I mean, and the fact that you have had these experiences from such a young age as well, and I guess it's been an unraveling for you as well too, to really get to know yourself and to trust yourself and the experiences that you've been having, and to, because I can imagine coming out and talking about it at different times would have been really quite hard.
Yeah, it was not appreciated, let's put it that way. So basically what I did, and what I think everybody should do, is I wanted to know the real Nancy Thames, not the Nancy Thames the world around me has programmed me into. I wanted to know the real Nancy, the soul, the inner soul Nancy that made a choice to be here, the one that is here for a purpose. You know, there's things that I want to experience. There's a purpose. I'm not here to please these elites that manipulate us and control us, and for us to cushion their pocketbooks. I'm here for my own soul purpose. All of us are. So with us waking up, we will learn that we have been manipulated. And this has been going on for eons. It didn't just start, you know, they have always kept humanity separated. And they have always, there's toxins in our air, our water, our food, our media is full of negativity. Everything in the world has been done to keep us separated, because the powers that are in control of us, when I say that, I'm talking about like the elites, the cabal, the black hats, the dark governments, et cetera, and some of the lower rim extraterrestrials that have worked with them. They all like to keep us at a lower consciousness level, dumbed down, and they want us to die off early, keep us unhealthy, because it serves their agenda. Nothing they do is for the betterment of humanity.
Yeah.
So that's my goal, is to help you. This is not about me. It's not about the United States. This is about the whole world, the whole world and all of humanity. And the phenomena is all over the world. And that's what they're waiting, is for all of humanity to wake up. And they're around us now, feeling putting in frequencies around our planet with unity and love and consciousness, trying to help assist us.
Yeah. And do you think that, I mean, like, because probably not everyone's role is to wake up, is it? It's to have that sort of push and pull, so that it gives people that perspective to know how to wake up as well. Like, yeah, what is your take on all of that?
Well, the ones of us that are waking up to higher consciousness, for me, I see the world differently. Plus, they have showed me a lot of things. I understand that we have a connection with Mother Earth. Our Mother Earth is a living, conscious being. We have a connection with every creature, every planet, every rock, every water or sea or ocean, and the marine life, everything, coral reefs, jungles, indigenous people, every single thing. We have a connection with all things. When they made this earth, when it was created and we were created, and everything on it, we were made to work all in unison together. We are all one. And everything that we ever needed to sustain us throughout our life was placed here. Beautiful air, beautiful planet, foods, any medication or anything we needed. There is a cure for everything in our forests and in our jungles. So a lot of things, we do not need these pharmaceutical companies. Our bodies was not designed for these synthetic drugs. Everything we ever needed is right here on Earth. And they're sitting on suppressed technology, suppressed knowledge, suppressed history, suppressed heritage, They won't even let us know our true heritage of where we came from. And they know these things.
Mm.
And we should not have poverty. We should not have diseases or sickness, all these things, but they cannot make money off of highly conscious, intelligent, healthy human beings, and they like controlling the population. And, we get so sick and have all these diseases that, that's their way of weeding this out and keeping control over the masses of population. So I'm hoping everybody else wakes up and realizes these things. And I think it's happening. I mean, our banking systems are breaking down. Our religious systems are breaking down. There's just a lot of things are breaking down. Our technology is to the point to where we can barely control it. Banks can't even keep up with the manipulation from hackers and things like that. So we are a changing world. Our whole world is changing, and we need to be in charge of everything that's going on. And we need to be aware that we've been manipulated and that we can live longer, healthier, different, happier lives, being more positive, being happier, no more depression, no more diseases, no more poverty, no more paying for fuels, no more paying for energy, clean water, clean air. And the list is endless of what all needs to be changed. We're not even touching what's been done to the oceans and the reefs, etc. So many things. But as we wake up and realize we'll take control, and a lot of people are scared to death of AI technology. And what they explained to me about that is, simply put, they said AI technology is a man-made, programmed by man. It is a man-made tool. Humans keep it as a man-made tool. Don't turn it loose with just certain fractions of people. Don't turn it loose to run and operate on its own. We have the intelligence. We designed it. It is a man-made tool. Keep it as a tool. And then they showed me visions to where in the future, none of these things will happen overnight, but where in the future, AI will not take place of all jobs. What it will do, it will better our lives, improve our lives. And we will learn to we won't even call it jobs. We'll call it a community service, but it will be things that we love to do, not slaving at a factory, working 9 to 5, and then delivering pizzas after that at night. It will not be that kind of way. The way that they show it is with working hand in hand with these things that we'll love whatever it is we're doing. And it won't matter what it pays or anything like that, because it will still be a service to community, but it will be things that we love, and we will not have to work the long hours, and women will not be taking care of other people's women and not taking care of their own. There's so many things that goes on in our world that needs to change.
Mm. And just to that point as well, I'm pretty sure you'd be on the same page with this, is when we do the work on ourselves and when we begin within and we look at where we can be the change, that is the quickest way to shift consciousness, isn't it? Really?
Oh, absolutely. Be the change you want to see.
Mm.
You got to change it here. And the beautiful part about that is when you change, and for me, when I started, I started off like whenever I would have a negative thought, I would replace it with 2 positive thoughts. And it gets to the point to where you just start doing it all the time. It becomes a habit. Plus, when you get to a higher frequency, it feels good. It rewards you, but you feel good. You're happy. You feel good. And when you're around your family and other people, it rubs off on them, and they're like, they want to be like that. And so they start changing their ways. And so it's kind of like the common cold. It spreads, everybody gets it. And I think that's what's going to happen as we reach higher consciousness, because what they explained to me is through their evolution alone is how they are 1 billion years ahead of us in evolution. So they've seen many, many beings go through this process. It's nothing new to them. It's only new to us. But as we reach higher consciousness, negativity, poverty, wars no longer serve us, and they no longer exist and will be no longer a part of our lives.
Yeah, I
It's
love that.
beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It is beautiful. And that's part of the reason that the podcast is called Rock the Ripple, because you're creating ripple effects that spread further than we can ever imagine.
Well, that's the point of me doing this, is
Mm.
to reach people, because we've been lied to for so long. People need to at least hear some positive truths, at least when they're making their own decisions, which they should do their research and make their own decisions. I'm not asking anybody to believe what I say, but have a look at what I'm saying, and, speculate the possibilities of what this would be like, and just do your own research and check it out, because negativity and wars and those type of things have never, ever gotten us anywhere, and it never will.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so true, like you were saying, like when we can use our imagination to imagine the worst possible scenario, or we can use it for, well, what could it be like? And that's where we need to play more, isn't it? To go to that space. So like, what is it looks, because we're creative beings. So why not spend that time going, okay, how is it going to look? How's it going to feel? What am I going to be doing? Who am I going to be high-fiving in when we're just having the best time? Like, it might sound crazy, but really we're so powerful, aren't we?
We really are. We are very powerful, very unique. And for me, it seems like the more that we realize that things make us happy, the more we want to do it. I don't even turn my TV on. Occasionally I'll turn on Netflix or Prime Video just to look for a movie to watch, but I don't, I just don't, because I don't want to hear the negative news. And I know that it's basically done intentionally to keep humanity separated in fear, indecisive, and question, it's there's nothing good about it. So there's so many things that can change and be better. And I know it sounds like, well, what kind of Kool-Aid are you on? Well, I'm not on any kind of Kool-Aid. I am on looking at things in a positive way. And like I said, the more positive I am, I feel better. I produce more. I'm happier, and people love being around me. And there's something to this. People gravitate towards positive individuals. It really works.
Yeah. And I think too, like, I know that you, like you've said in some of your bio and some of the stuff you talk about, that doesn't mean that you bypass the tough experiences. You definitely, you don't just go, oh, my arm just fell off, everything's okay. Like, you have to go through those things as well too. And that's what helps you become stronger, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why when we're born, we have to crawl to learn to walk. So it's not the end of the world. And you have to realize things that occur, you have to look at the positive side of it. Sometimes things happen and we don't understand, but there was a reason, and we have to find the good in things. Sometimes it's very hard, but there's always a reason for everything, and it's temporary. The pain or the anguish that you feel is temporary, and just remember that it's temporary and you will get through it. My daughter-in-law died back in November. She was 29 years old, and I have a grandson. Her children are 3 and 6, and for me, that's very hard. It seems so unfair. Beautiful, beautiful girl. And now my two grandsons have no mother. But there was a reason that this happened. And instead of sit around feeling sorry for my grandchildren or for my son, think positive. There was a purpose. We don't know what it is. We aren't supposed to know everything, but make the best of the time that we have here, because our experience here on Earth is a very short experience compared to any other beings. Extraterrestrials, interdimensionals have a much longer life than what we do. So we have been deprived of enjoying our lives because of the manipulation and programming. So we need to learn to understand more. And I think too, as we reach higher consciousness, we'll have a better understanding of our place on this planet, our place in the universe, our place in the cosmic realm, and understand. So a couple of things I'd like for everybody to know is that we extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, all have souls, and they believe in a creator source. And from what they've taught me, we of course all have souls. And when we die, our soul and our consciousness, our body ends, but our soul and our consciousness moves on. And we're basically immortal. So when we get past this human experience, whatever soul contracts or agreements, we go before a group of elders and decisions are made on whether we repeat and come back to earth, or if we feel and they agree that we all agree that we've experienced enough, then we can choose to be something else, a dolphin or extraterrestrial or interdimensional or whatever, whatever is all out there. There's many things. And at some point, when we get to where we think we've experienced all these physical things that we wanted to experience, we can just stay in a non-physical etheric state up at the highest level of highest dimension or the highest level of consciousness and reside there as long as we want, so we're immortal when it comes to that kind of thing. It doesn't end for us here.
Yeah.
So we have so many things to look forward to, and that's another thing we've been lied to about, so we've got a lot to learn, and I don't think we should be mad at the world for telling us lies. We perhaps needed these things to happen for us to get to where we are today. So we should be a forgiving generation, a very forgiving generation, because some things had to happen to push us to this point. But we're here now, and what matters is what we do from here on out, because now we know. Now we're learning, and we're learning our place in the universe, in the cosmic realm, and this is where it will make a major difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess like from the highest point of consciousness, like, I mean, it's hard to even imagine that, but at some point of that, we made the decision to create the game in the first place, to have the evolution and to have the experience as well. Would you say?
We all chose to be here. There's no doubt. We all made a choice to be here, and we're all here for, different reasons. And we pretty much determine how long we're going to be here. It's very hard to understand it all. And they want our brains are, our consciousness is wiped when we are born here. And the reason for that, they told me, was because being a human is a human. We're here to experience a learning experience. Earth is like a school. It's a learning experience. So if we knew everything and remembered everything when we got here, there wouldn't be anything to learn or to experience.
Yeah.
So, I ask a lot of questions. But sometimes even with the answers, I don't understand everything. I do not know everything. And sometimes when they tell me things, I have to really think about it for a while for it to really register with me. But I do know that their crafts are living conscious beings. And that's why we can't fly their craft. We cannot. They are 1 billion years ahead of us in evolution. And they're to the point where their craft is a conscious living being, and their pilot is trained and genetically designed to be a pilot. And when those two consciousness meet, they simply telepathically say where they want to go, and then bam, they go. And I also know that for us, technology is like the laptops that I'm looking into and you looking into. Okay, it's not part of us. In their reality, in their world, their consciousness is so high, the technology is incorporated in it.
Mm.
And that's a lot to even think about, so it's a lot, but it's true. I mean, that's why it's so hard for all of us to understand and our governments to understand, because there is no humanizing anything that they have or anything that they do, because they are so far ahead of us.
Mm.
And that's not a bad thing. That just means that they've been in our position a long time ago, and they understand what we're going through. And they know that we're at the point where our technology can wipe us out, or it can better our lives. And they're here to assist us. They're not here to take over, control, anything like that, eat us, or they're vegetarians. They wouldn't touch our water, our food, or us. We're full of toxins. So there's so much misinformation, and, hopefully, other people like me will start to wake up and help clear up this misinformation. Because when I look on Facebook and some of the things I see, I'm just like, holy snap. Where do these people get these ideas, But, that's just part of it. And we've been programmed for so long.
Mm. And ultimately, that power, we have that innate, natural, organic technology within us already. And it's about
Yes.
removing all the layers and those limiting beliefs and the patterns and the programming, all that sort of stuff. And we are, like you said before, like we're the ones we've been looking for, we've been waiting for, and
Yes.
everything is there already. It's just like pulling it all away, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's just basically us accepting we're not alone, accepting we are part of the cosmic realm. We have some of that is not junk DNA. That is we are part them, they are like family. And they've basically just been waiting for us to reach this level of intelligence, and now we know they are not gods. They are not angels. They are just billions of years ahead of us. And they don't want to, they could have already taken us over, or done anything they wanted to do. When people say, well, what about the abductions and stuff? That was a road race that came down on their own. And when they did that, they isolated themselves from the collective consciousness of all the other interdimensionals and positive extraterrestrials, because they were overstepping the boundaries of humans being here. They were interfering. And that is, in their eyes, they didn't think they were doing anything wrong, because a lot of that was misunderstood. Because when we go out, scientists or biologists go out and tag animals or take blood samples or whatever, it's really no different than that's the way they saw what they were doing with us. But the problem was that because they don't see us as anything they ever desired to reach higher consciousness, they really didn't care what we thought. And that was a very isolated, few in number, a race of grays, a race of reptilians, or one race. There's many, many different races of gray. There's over 63 different races of grays in heights and different colors. And of reptilians, there's many different types. And I've met only the positive ones. I never met a negative one. And every single race, Anunnaki, Nordics, interdimensionals, there's many, many different races within each one. And there'll always be, just like human beings, a few that are not demonic. They just don't like the idea of humans being up on their intellectual level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll always be that sort of
Pull.
those pull. Yeah.
But as far as great number, the positives they're in higher number. There are very few of the negatives.
Yeah. And do you feel like, because everything is frequency as well too, like it's important for people to understand that there's not all good and there's not all bad, and that like if they're to have an experience, to really, like for someone I guess who maybe is having an experience, maybe we should go there a bit, Nancy, is like
Okay.
for them to be able to know what is good, what isn't. I mean, I guess we really can go by our intuition and our feeling,
Yeah.
and if something doesn't feel right, that is a telltale sign to kick off with, isn't it?
Yes. When they started coming down here in big numbers and in motherships about 5 years ago, they told these lower, I call them lower rim because they're from our galaxy. You know, interdimensionals are from, they could be within our galaxy, but they're in a different dimension, or they could be different planet, you know, the list goes on. But they told these lower level, considered lower level, to stop, to leave humanity alone. Their playtime was over, and they were supposed to stop. And they showed me visions of lots of them leaving planet Earth. There was just like tons of craft leaving Earth. Some of them did stay, and some of them are still here. And they're, you know, part of the reason why, you know, they're working with the black hats and all these people trying to keep disclosure from happening. And that's why we're having the war, and there's different things. And you know, there's a couple of mishaps. There was like some kind of weird looking ET or cryptid that showed up in Florida. There was one that showed up in Las Vegas. And I think that was fear tactics to try to get people scared and try to like get people less interested in disclosure. But so if you're having an abduction, first of all, you need to, if you can, it's hard, but you can talk to them, meditate like I do, and say you want positive interaction. You want face-to-face positive interaction, and that you want only pure good things, you know, and supposedly, from what I've been told, they're supposed to stop. They're not supposed to continue on, but I don't know. From what they told me, honestly, they asked them to quit doing the abductions. And I really don't hear about any new stories of abductions. Most of them are from in the past.
Yeah.
And there's rumors that different fractions of government made treaties. They traded out technology to allow them to do their genetic research on humans.
Mm.
If they did it or not, I don't know. But I do know that there's enough women that have had experience and say the same thing, that it had to have happened.
Mm.
And I also know that there was a time period where some extraterrestrials worked with parts of government, and they did their own abductions to human beings.
Yes.
And that was part government and extraterrestrial, and they were doing their own research. So there's been a lot of things happen. And that's the thing about disclosure, is it's opening up a whole can of worms of people wanting to know why these things happen.
Mm.
So again, it was not the best choices that were made, but we're going to have to learn to forgive and move on, because we can't change the past. And a lot of those people that made those decisions aren't even alive anymore. They started these programs 70 or 80 years ago. And, you know, that doesn't make it right or anything, but we have to be a positive generation and start a new, fresh start for our future generations. We cannot be warlike. You know, we have to learn to use our mind and work these things out and make sure these things don't happen in the future.
Absolutely. And I think like to the point of that is really like acknowledge what has happened, heal,
Yeah.
do the healing,
Yes.
and then go, okay, what do I want to create from here? What do we want to create from here? And really
Right.
step into that. And when enough of us do that, things just it's just phenomenal what it's going to look like.
And I think that our mental therapists and all those people need to be educated. Doctors, mental therapists need to be prepared and ready to help people, because once the government admits these things, I'm sure a lot of people are going to start waking up and remembering things, and they're going to need places to turn to. So that could be their way of giving back to humanity. What happened is offering free services, or, something like that. But I think, that's the main thing, is we need to be ready for these people that are upset.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are doing work like that, people like Mary Wardwell and those kinds of people where they can go to and start speaking to. And I think that's going to happen more and more, don't you? Like on the, I mean, there's a lot on the outskirts doing their thing now, and it will become more mainstream, I guess.
Yeah, that's why in my Facebook group, I try to keep links. There's one organization called OPUS, capital OPUS, and it is a safe place for contactees, abductees, and people that's had paranormal type things happen, where you can go and you can interact with people, and you can request to have they will help you find a therapist in your area. If you tell them where, they'll do all the legwork for you and try to find someone for you to go and have your, either group meetings or one-on-one consultation, whatever. And then in Canada, it's called TESA, TESA, and they have a similar thing up in that area. And Opus is here in the United States. And I think we're going to see, and I forgot, there's, it's called UAP Medical Coalition, and they are basically doing that too. And they're really trying to attract all of the doctors, all of the therapists, to get them involved. So there are people doing these things, but, people need to know through sources like you and I that those things are available.
Yeah, well, you mentioned your Facebook group, and I think you've got a few Facebook groups actually, or that you're
part of. I belong to a lot of Facebook groups, but I do have my one, Time for Disclosure, and then I have my website, timefordisclosure.com. So, and I have tried to have all that kind of information, even all of the MUFONs in every state has meetups, and that's a good way to have connections and to find out about people in your area that have the same interest, because we're better about being able to talk about this out in the community, but it's not 100% yet.
Yeah. And for people who are just learning about this information, what is MUFON for those people?
Mutual. Well, I know that in the United States, I can't think of the exact thing, but it's capital MUFON, and they are been here for so long, and they are where you report a sighting or a occurrence or a contact or an abduction. You go to them, and they have field investigators that will come out and look at the area. They'll come back and look at it, and if it's reoccurring, and have someone like do some research on it. And then they have like these group of people, I think they're called ERT, Emergency Rescue Team, something of that nature. And that is for the abductees and contactees. And they come and investigate and get you whatever you need, whatever assistance you need. They try to get you in those directions. So that's a great one. And they're pretty, all of those are pretty, some of them are free. I think MUFON, you do have to report something, you don't have to pay anything. But if you want to be in a membership and go to meetings and things like that, maybe $30 a year, something like that. So it's not too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're going to see more of those kind of things spreading around. So, and I'm sure y'all have them in Australia too.
Yeah.
I know when I was living in there, that was my first experience at star parties.
Yeah, so talk a bit, because you worked in the Department of Defense, and you also had a little stint in Australia. So yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I lived there almost 5 years, and I absolutely loved it. And it was amazing. I lived in Brisbane, Queensland, and I lived up on Mount Me above the Glass House Mountains, and, just saw some things that were just absolutely beautiful, and lived up there where, was collecting rainwater, had to take the garbage to a tip, load it up and carry it in the Jeep to the tip. So it was a really unique experience, and kangaroos running all around the yard and parrots everywhere. I just loved the birds in Australia. But and I did work for the Department of Defense. And after I got back from Australia, I got that job, and the first place I went to was Hawaii. So I lived there for 4 years.
Wow.
So it was amazing. And I worked in dentistry, and I learned a lot, and I did have to have a security clearance, but that's only because I was working with commanders and generals and high ranking officers. So it was required that everybody had to have a security clearance, but it wasn't anything to do with extraterrestrials or anything like that.
Did you have experiences in Hawaii? I know James Gilliland, he's been there for a bit, and he's like just had them non-stop all day or night. So did you have that too?
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. They even have a landing pad in Hawaii. They have one, it's nothing fancy, but if you look it up, you can find it on the internet, but they have created a landing spot for extraterrestrials if they decide to come to Earth. Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I'm so loving talking to you. Is there anything else on your heart that you would love to share before we start to wrap this up, Nancy?
Well, I hope that people have enjoyed hearing what I have to say. I always try to meditate before and ask that they help me, give me guidance, confidence, and, speak from my heart. I don't pre-plan anything I'm going to say. I should probably do that. I might come across a little better, or, but I just hope that people will look inside themselves and try to figure out who they are, and understand that we are very unique and beautiful, wonderful human beings. And we have so much happiness and so much to look forward to. And we are going to make the world a better place, not only for us, but for future generations. And I think that, we will be remembered throughout history as being that we were the ones the world's been waiting on, and start making the changes that we need. And I believe we are the disclosure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, Nancy. We are the ones. We definitely, we are the ones we've been waiting for. That's beautiful. Oh, so how can people find you? Where's the best place to connect with you?
Anywhere that's related to a UFO or extraterrestrial in Facebook. But my group is called Time for Disclosure / We Have Never Been Alone / We Are the Disclosure. And then I do belong to other groups, and they're all great. Everyone that I belong to, they all are very nice and keep trolls away, and watch out. They have many monitors and admin to watch over, so that it is a safe place, because we've all struggled throughout our life. So we want more people to be able to have the comforts of being able to communicate, because we know how precious it is, and it took us this long to get to this point. So it's very important. And I like to have links so that you can find meetups or groups or organizations or therapists, whatever. I try to provide all that type of information, and I think other groups do too. So any of them would be a great place to go stick your toe in the pond and see if you're interested in finding out more.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Oh, Nancy, I just want to thank you so much for your time today. And while I'm thanking you as well, I want to thank you at home for tuning in. I hope you have loved this conversation as much as I hope, Nancy, you have too. And I definitely have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's just so much there. So thank you for being here. Like always, if you love this video, give it a like, rate it on the podcast, leave a comment. Always love hearing from you. So thank you for being here. And Nancy, just thank you again for sharing your wisdom on the show and everything that you're doing to help and support others.
Yeah. You know what my goal is? This sounds so silly. I want to go talk to the United Nations about extraterrestrials and about humanity and how things can be better, because if they would speak, a lot of people would listen to what they had to say. So I don't know what it would cost me to get there, but I don't care. If I get the opportunity, that's my goal, is to speak and try to get them on board, like being real cooperative about this. So
Mm.
I just think that'd be really great.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
set that intention right now, Nancy.
Yeah.
It is done. It's done. It's just a matter of rolling out now.
Yeah. So everybody think positive. Yeah.
Yeah. Put that out there. Oh, that is so good. Oh, Nancy, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been awesome to connect
Thank
with you.
you. All right. Stay in touch.
Will do.